Well, hello, my little chaos nibblings. It is I, Rehash, and welcome back to the Gentleman's Chat. Gent? You're not still sulking about the whole Charlie thing, are you?
I've seen this exact same song and dance before with She-Ra.
Okay, admittedly Charlie has been fumbling the ball a lot this season, but there is still time for everything to turn around.
Look, I'm gonna go into this with an open mind, but the skeptic in me has truly awoken.
Okay, 7 episodes left to change our mind on Charlie. This is Hazbin Hotel, episode 7. The episode begins where Vox is currently in a meeting with Camilla Carmine, wanting to recruit her to his army and commission her to build a super weapon. But she adamantly refuses. Even though Vox brought Velvet to apologize for her disrespectful attitude, she's still quite resilient against it.
Yeah, might have something to do with this. No lie, I'd probably be holding a grudge too. That shit is way worse than what Velvet did.
But seeing as how flattery tactics isn't working, he decides to change up and say, hey, don't get mad at me for fighting this war. A war that you helped start. In fact, you're the sole reason it's going on in the first place. Since you're the ones who supplies the angelic weapons to the Hazbin Hotel, all Vox is doing is continuing the fight. And when the angels eventually come back down, who do you think they're going to challenge? Who do you think they're going to slay? And with that logic, well, Carmilla agrees.
You know, I really can't even blame Carmilla here. She's obviously thinking of her family, but she knows that Vox is also full of shit. But when it comes to villains like Vox, they usually end up self-destructing by how much power they end up getting. So all that really matters is how big the fuse is.
Well, as they leave, Velvet chews Vox out for forcing her to apologize, but Vox dismisses all of her feelings because, well, he got the contract, he's high and mighty, and he thinks he's more important than her. But this is lasting impressions, and Velvet is not amused by his behavior.
But unfortunately, they're not the only ones having personal drama, as Zestial was watching in the corner the entire time, and he scolds Carmilla for even thinking of creating any kind of weapon for Vox. But Camilla stands her ground on this, not out of pride, but out of concern for her children, and possibly PTSD from losing her own husband during an extermination. But Zestial doubles down and simply says, if you continue on this path, I can't follow you. But I'll come back, but only when you come to your senses. So, they're totally fucking, right?
Oh, they're totally fucking.
Mazel tov.
Well, we then cut back to the hotel.
Oh, for frick's sake, Charlie, hire more people! Seriously, the girl is the princess of hell and is clearly loaded. Use some of that Nepo baby money and actually hire a decent staff.
Well, Vaj finds out that Carmilla is working with Vox, and this sends her into a rage, and she goes to report to everyone else. But Charlie is still angry at her for sending her dad after Vox.
You know, I can almost be understanding of Charlie's position season 1 for Vaj hiding the fact that she was an angel the whole time and part of the extermination. I can understand that. But she really does not have a leg to stand on here. Not this time. Vaj is 100% in the right.
Well, Vaggie is matching Charlie's tone beat for beat. And the two of them end up getting in a fight in the bar, and it gets to the point where even Husk is like, you know what? Fuck this. I am done with your lesbian drama. I quit.
Charlie does her best to try to change his mind, but Husk says if Alistar is out, then he doesn't have to be here. So he decides to leave. And can I just say how much I adore Baxter and Nifty just not dealing with any of this drama and just playing patty cake in the background.
Heck, even when Charlie and Vaggie are continuing arguing, they're just like, nah, we prefer patty cake. Okay, I'm beginning to see why everybody is obsessed with Baxter and Nifty all of a sudden. Twin agents of chaos. All about just doing their own thing and not caring about the drama. It's actually rather a shame that Baxter has been kept to the sidelines nearly the entire season, but that's none of my business.
Well, things only go from bad to worse, as Vox actively uses Lilith's name in order to rouse up the demons even more, saying that this is what Lilith would have wanted. Complete and total revolution over heaven, which infuriates Charlie.
Violence? She empowered sinners. Peaceful protest. There was no blood.
Ooh, yeah, I'm not even going to try to touch that one.
But I will. Roll the clips!
Police seem to have had enough.
The nation erupted into scenes of chaos, violence, and widespread destruction into the early morning hours. Dozens of American cities up in flames after some protests turned into riots.
Oh, come on, Jen, that joke wrote itself.
I do not care for you right now.
Well, now that both Charlie and Vaggie have a reason to go to Carmilla, they both decide to go. And since they both decide to go, they might as well go together. Leaving, well, since Husk is gone, only Nifty in charge of the hotel.
Rise, children. It's time.
Okay, having Nifty in charge of the hotel is already scary enough. You don't need to throw Baxter into it.
But a bioengineered super genetic insect and rat army sounds absolutely delightful. Also, get that background rooster-like character involved. He's just kind of sitting there, doing nothing. We then cut back to Husk, who is currently on his way to a familiar setting. A casino. It really doesn't push him that hard to fall back into old and terrible habits. And this is definitely his relapsing.
And we finally get a solo Husk song called Love in a Bottle, which starts off eerily similar to that of Loser Baby, but then it segues into its own really unique catchy theme and music. And by God, he might be a demon cat, but his voice is an angel. I don't even drink alcohol, but I would totally pick up the habit if this song was attached. But it slowly starts declining as we see Husk winning, but eventually start losing, the further and further the song goes on, as well as him drinking more and more, until it starts spiraling into the downside of this heavy lifestyle. Personally, I would say this is Husk's poison, which means his own version of Loser Baby may be just around the corner.
But we later cut to Charlie and Vaggie going to Carmilla Carmine's industrial plant, as they're generously discussing how they should approach her, but not seeing eye to eye on anything.
I don't have time for this lesbian drama. What is it you want?
Ah, you see? There we go. Even the show admits it's just nothing but lesbian drama, so you can't be mad at me for pointing it out.
Well, Charlie tries her approach, and then Vaggie tries her approach. Both of them trying and failing to appease to Carmilla's common sense. But Carmilla's common sense is pretty straightforward. You guys are the ones who started killing angels and spread the word that angels can be killed. I'm just doing what I did for you, now for Vox. And this argument starts spurring up traumatic memories in Vaggie.
We see that we assume Lute is abusing this one poor angel girl, and while Vaggie does try to comfort her, she's ripped away from her by Lute and Adam, and she has her eyes gouged out and her wings cut off, and what we can only assume, dropped in hell. So I'm assuming that any angel that didn't fall in line got the Vaggie treatment. Is this just a common practice? If so, then potentially Charlie could have her own fallen angel harem.
Yeah, I got the subtle feeling that fallen angels don't really last too long in hell after extermination days. But Charlie does see the PTSD that Vaggie is suffering from and takes over the conversation, even bringing up her mother. But once more, Carmilla mentions Lilith is gone. Her teachings, whatever they might have been, don't matter in the here and now. And so Carmilla goes back to work, developing some kind of weapon for Vox, and Vaggie and Charlie leave in defeat, with Charlie trying to comfort Vaggie, but Vaggie clearly wanting to be alone. Okay, Charlie, this is it. This is like the end-all be-all. Your girlfriend is actively having a PTSD attack. This is the moment where you need to buckle down, grow a pair, and redeem yourself from all the bullshit you've done, and it's quite a significant amount of bullshit you've done this season. I don't even care if it's solved through a musical number. I've been through worse. Just fix this shit.
We then cut back to Husk, who is reminiscing over how much he missed this lifestyle. A beer in one hand, no cares, no worries, no person, just a cold one, rolling dice, clinking glasses, and a beautiful woman singing on stage and... I have so many questions!
Yeah, sorry Husk, the hotel ain't done with you yet. Though I could probably say for certain that this is an absolute coincidence. But this does lead us into another Angel Dust song, called Losing Streak.
The song is definitely adequate. Angel Dust has not had a bomb of a song.
And while the song itself does make most people question their sexuality, for me, I grew up on the generation with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This stuff, it doesn't even do anything for me anymore.
But it does shock Husk back to his senses. So I guess you could say this is the loser baby for Husk. And if it does its job there, then no complaints.
We then cut back to TV Tower, where currently Valentino is trying to find somebody who can even keep up with Angel Dust. And then Vox comes in and says he needs to borrow Angel Dust. I can only imagine the implication. But Valentino doesn't want to, because he's mad at Vox. But Vox uses his grand manipulation tactics to seduce Valentino into complying. And then Velvet is there and calls him out for only doing anything with them when he wants something. Vox tries to spin it, saying that's not true, but then Alistair.
Good God, Alistair has done more tied to a chair than most of the cast has done the entire season. Honestly, at this point, I don't even think that putting a wedge between the V's is part of Alistair's overall go. I think he's just rage-baiting Vox at this point to self-destruct, because he already had what he wanted. It's just that Vox just could not handle not impressing his boy toy dear boy. So he tries to force Valentino to give him Angel Dust, but apparently the eye thing doesn't work on him, and he says, fuck it, you can take him anyway, and he runs off cursing in Spanish.
You know I can't understand you when you speak that island language, Val. Anyone else got shit to say? I'm from fucking Florida. Ow!
And the reward for the funniest joke in the entire series goes to Valentino for I'm from fucking Florida bit. Yes, I know it's been a very good run, but the jokes in this season have been twice as much and twice as hard as they were in the first season, but this one, there's no topping it, especially when you consider it's an improv one.
So we cut back to the hotel where nothing has been done, everything is destroyed, and nothing but an assortment of chaos is happening. Vaggie doesn't understand what could have possibly happened leaving Nifty in charge, but in fairness, her and Baxter were busy making babies.
But then Vaggie is called to the penthouse where it's Charlie who's calling her, and she made a fort of blankets. It's in here that Charlie finally admits she was wrong and apologizes. Good fucking God, finally. She apologizes for everything. Her brash behavior, she wasn't listening, and I think it was that PTSD attack of Vaggie that finally set her off and realized, oh shit, I'm the problem. And we also finally get to see a conversation where Charlie finally admits that a lot of her emotions about the hotel and seeing it succeed and not getting besmirched is because she has mommy issues on top of her daddy issues. It's why she's been fighting so hard, but now things have become so chaotic, so stressful, so out of control, that everything is gonna go wrong. Her entire hotel is going to be up in flames, and they're all going to die, and so are her dreams. And Vaggie says, okay, enough, I know how to fix this.
And this is where we get flashbanged into the song Easy, or as I like to call it, the lesbian sex song. The song itself is very well done, where Charlie tries to spiral back into a depressed state, but even Vaggie's like, nope, we're not doing that, we are having lesbian sex. All our problems can go away with lesbian sex. And you know, I do find it kind of odd that the one time where we actually get to see Charlie and Vaggie doing the naughty is the one time the show decides to put a little bit of implied implication instead of outright showing it, unlike literally every other character.
You're just upset because you can't see the lesbian sex.
Of course I want to watch the lesbian sex! I mean, what are you, gay?
Though this does kind of contradict with something Charlie wrote in season 1 about waiting for marriage before having consensual sex.
Who said this was consensual? Vag did kind of pressure Charlie into it.
I don't know, looking at that face, there's not a no on that.
But me personally, I'm still waiting for Verbalzi to show up and fight Vaggie for Charlie's affections. Oh yes, I have not forgotten about that $50,000 animation. And neither should you!
Well, we later cut to Husk as Angel Dust joins them at the bar. Husk tells Angel Dust that he quit the hotel, and Angel Dust is definitely taken aback, but does seem kind of supportive. But I think this conversation could be summed up as loser baby,
loser baby,
loser baby,
loser baby,
loser baby.
Okay, fine, I'll come back to the hotel.
Yay!
We later cut to a cheap hotel, nice tagline by the way, where Valentino meets up with Angel Dust. Angel Dust is trying to play the role of the nice, friendly prostitute, but it's clear Valentino is in a mood. And Angel Dust quickly catches up on this, but doesn't question it, as he goes into the room. And it's made very apparent that those eyeballs on the walls aren't just there for show. But that's the least of Angel Dust's concerns, as Vox is in the room with him.
Vox tries to use his hypnotic powers on Angel Dust, but Angel Dust fights back. But good God, Angel Dust cannot catch a break with the V's. And this is when Vox reveals the deep, dark truth behind his entire scheming empire. He had planted Angel Dust into the hotel as a mole. Well, maybe not at first, but he became the perfect mole. That's how he was able to figure out everything and all of Charlie's and the hotel's moves. He knew everything in advance and used Angel Dust to spy on everybody. But now spying is no longer needed. And Vox wants to use Angel Dust in one final show.
Oh, Vox, you didn't really have to go that far in making a plant with Angel Dust. All you really needed to do was just go to Charlie and she'd probably tell you herself. Jed, I thought you said you were forgiving Charlie after this episode.
I am, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to rip on her from time to time for how she's acted. We cut back to the hotel where Husk has reemerged. Hooray! Everybody welcomes him back with smiles and open arms. They're happy to have him back, but then he asks about Angel Dust and no one's seen him. And this immediately sets Cherry and Husk off, because something ain't right here.
We then cut back to Vaggie and Charlie, who have absolutely destroyed the blanket fort with their scissoring, as Charlie decides it's time to make up with her dad now that she's gotten the stress relief that she needed. We cut to Lucifer, who is... okay, this is just absolutely adorable. But he gets a call from Charlie, who says to meet up. Now, fun fact, when I first watched this with my buddies Arrow and Misty, I actually pointed out Charlie sounds oddly AI robotic here. And then we cut to Vox, who is impersonating Charlie's voice to trick Lucifer. And it's clear we are in the absolute endgame now. But that resolution will have to wait till next week. Or the week after that, depending on the release schedule of all of our other series. But let's focus on the here and now, and how did this episode fare? This was definitely a Husk episode. More or less. I do have a small list of characters that I want to hear more songs from and more development for. Husk is definitely on that list. Even if this episode was very much a repeat of what happened to Angel Dust in his character development episode. Literally having his own version of Poison and his own version of Loser Baby. And it was even Angel Dust who helped him out of that toxic environment.
As far as Charlie goes, I can't really say I absolutely forgive everything she's done with just a simple apology, but we'll just have to wait and see, and it does sound like she's on the right path to getting her head sorted on straight. But this does kind of repeat an issue that I had with her in the first season, being that she never really listens to Vaggie on anything. But she did manage to avoid the terrible female protagonists club, which is conveniently located inside of a porta-potty.
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that Alistair's plan is to just simply egg on Vox in order to make sure he becomes the most powerful sinner in hell, so that he can ultimately break his deal with Rosie with no strings attached. But with that being said, his diabolical schemes with the V's is just him messing around and playing on Vox's insecurities to kill time. Deliciously chaotically evil of him. But I must wonder, how does one simply become the strongest sinner in hell?
And even though it's only a small background detail, it is nice to see that Baxter is actually incorporating himself in the hotel through Nifty. When we first seen him with Cherry Bomb, he definitely was the aloof loner, just shut up and let me do my work type. Now he seems to be a little bit more sociable. But unfortunately, that's all we really have to say until next episode. So until then, I'm Gent.
And I'm Rehash.
And we're the Cartoon Gentlemen. And we'll see you all next time.